A thing that I hear a lot about from the people with dyslexia and ADHD that I coach is the difficulty in remembering names. People's names, even people that you might know quite well, their name. This is a massive frustration and it drives people crazy. And this is because I think we have quite a strong sense generally that we should be able to remember names regardless. But there's something about it that is particularly challenging for people with neurodiversity. I remember someone telling me that it had become a joke where they worked after a period of awkwardness. What happened for this person, who had a diagnosis of dyslexia, was that they would sometimes need to ask for help from the member of the admin team who had an office across the corridor from them. So this person, the admin team member, had their name on their door and their name began with an F. I never found out what their name was because the person telling me couldn't remember. What happened was that my client would think, oh yeah, I need to ask for help with this from the admin person whose face she could see clearly in her mind, who she knew well. She would go across the corridor, pause at the door to look at the name on the door as a reminder, knowing that she was not good with remembering names. She would say it a couple of times to herself, and then 2 steps into the room with the person in front of her, the name was gone from her mind. Hello, she would say, and it was always awkward then because the name had completely vanished. Sometimes she would try alternatives beginning with F in the vain hope that her brain would somehow help her out in this emergency, but it never did. So she got the name wrong, which is an even greater crime than forgetting it in the first place. But such is the pressure that we feel to use people's names that we're prepared to take a chance. Needless to say, this was very awkward and embarrassing. And my client did not have less regard for this person. She did not respect her any less than anyone else. They got on well and were good friends. It was simply that for some people, remembering names can be really challenging if you have a neurodiverse condition. And this is particularly acute because people put great store in you remembering their name. So if you can't, it can be perceived as a massive disrespect, which is why it seems so awful when you can't remember it. I do know people who are very upfront about how they deal with this issue. They say straight off, I'm sorry, but I am terrible at remembering names, so forgive me if I instantly forget yours. It's honestly nothing personal. Someone told me recently that what helps them sometimes is to be able to connect that person's name and face with a very strong context. That kind of processing of the image with place and activity and taking time to think about it and do that seem to be able to cement the information together a bit better. I think that the challenge can be to do with having to remember someone's name in the split second. Maybe if you have time to think about it, it might be a bit easier. I grew up in Cambridge and then moved to London, both places where there was quite a changeable transient population, lots of people coming and going. There wasn't much eye contact in shops and no one seemed to greet each other in shops or on the streets unless they knew you quite well. Then I moved to the valleys of South Wales, a different story altogether. There's a super strong sense of community and people greet you on the street whether they know you or not as you pass. You make eye contact, and where I moved to, you would say, "How are you, butt?" That's a bit old-fashioned now and people just say, "All right, butt," or "Morning, butt," or "Hiya, butt." They say butt instead of mate. It's what they say when they don't know your name. I love it, but they also like it if you remember their actual name. I'm not dyslexic or neurodiverse, but I am familiar with the sense of expectation and the uncomfortableness of not being able to perform as perhaps people would like. So I think that the best approach to deal with this is honesty. Be upfront about it. You can tell people that it's something that you struggle with and that it is a dyslexic thing, a neurodiverse thing. You can tell them that it's not a lack of respect or regard, but simply that you do not have the ability, through no fault of your own, to remember anyone's name very easily, including old friends of many years standing. Ask them how they remember names. They'll probably say they just remember them. And you can say how lucky they are and how great it would be if you could, but alas, you can't. Most importantly to know though, is that it's not you being ignorant, rude or stupid. It's something that thousands of people struggle with and probably mostly cover up, and it's not any fault of yours. So you can relax, take the pressure off yourself for a change. It's not you, and you are not alone. So come and join my free Facebook community with other like-minded people like you who have neurodivergent conditions. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found this video useful, then why not take a look at this one? I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.